Are we streaming yet, or?
Yeah, hold on, Johannes. Okay, and we are live. Welcome to the Honest Gabe report. Today we have Johannes from Northwest Indiana. Northwest Indiana. How you doing, Johannes?
Okay, okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Johannes, and what you do.
Well, basically, I was a candidate for Indiana State Senate in District 4, which basically covers a tiny little piece of northwest LaPorte County and the whole northern part of Porter County. And I'm in the most liberal and the most leftist part of the state.
So,
The bastards just tried to frame me with a DUI last week,
yeah, I
and so
saw
now I
that.
got to try and fight that, get that thrown out of court so I can sue them, and hopefully I can sue them to get enough money to get a nice, expensive Canada Goose coat to
Oh
flaunt
yeah.
in front of their faces next winter.
Oh, absolutely. So, how long have you been a Republican, Johannes? For our viewers.
Well, my whole family's been Republican practically all my life. When I was in third grade, my dad voted for Reagan. We've always been Republicans. I don't really recall voting for Democrats except for maybe some local politicians. I did vote for Scott Pilaf uh, for our state representative when I was younger because I went to school with him, but that was the only reason. Other
Okay.
than that, yeah, I've been pretty much a Republican all my life.
Okay. Yeah, I registered as a Republican to piss off my Democrat mother. My mother did the same to my Republican My grandpa is a registered Republican, lifelong Republican, registered as a Republican when he first voted, and died as a Republican. Probably in the state of California, they probably have him voting Democrat right now. No, I'm kidding. They probably, who knows, who knows. But my mom went out and registered as a Democrat to piss off my grandpa. My grandpa was heated. I mean heated. So like, so then I did the same thing to piss off my mother. I became a registered Republican after I graduated high school. Literally, they had a booth for signing. You know, I graduated in 2014. The state of California had a booth. Registered voters, you had to be 18 or older. So and it was the Fresno County Young Republicans that were signing people up, and I registered as a Republican. So yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty
see,
funny.
my brother was the rebel of the family. He registered as a Democrat after a couple of 400-pound girls with more chins than Chinatown decided to convince him that he was gay.
Yeah, it happens. I have gay family members too. Me as I'm in a different generation, but yeah, it just it I that's where the libertarian side, a little bit of part of the libertarian side comes out from me. You know, I don't really care what people do in their bedrooms. It's not the government's job to tell people what they can or what they can't do in their homes. I think it's stupid.
Just don't put it in our face.
Exactly. I agree with you on that. Yeah, don't
Yeah,
push it on anybody. Nobody wants to be pushed with any, just leave everyone the hell alone. That's how it should be. So, but
right.
okay, so how long have you lived in Northwest Indiana?
Well, since I was about three and a half when we moved here in 1974,
Okay. So you stayed in
so
Michiana
pretty
Shores the
much
whole
all my
time?
life.
Go honest, you stayed in Michiana the whole time?
Yeah,
Okay. So, okay, so how'd you get politically involved, Johannes?
COVID.
Ah, good old COVID. That's what I got involved in 2019. because my county chairman, it was actually 2018, but I didn't really get involved in that time. I just went to the Trump rally down in Evansville, and it was a great time. It really was. And so like
Mm-hmm.
and then 2019, I reached out to the to the local Republican chairman, who was Wayne Park at the time. Decent chairman, a lot better than Michael Duckworth we had down there after I left Evansville. But oh yeah, so he was a decent one, and then he got me to run against Cheryl Musgrave, and then I ended up backing out because I had too much on my plate. So and I didn't, and I was young at that time. We all learn. But I ran for precinct
Yeah,
committeeman in 2020, and then I remember meeting you in 2020 at the rallies up in at the state capitol, and then
at the state house.
yeah,
Yeah,
at the state house. Did you go to the one where I had the 1 million Hoosier March?
I don't know if I went to that one. I remember I went to one and Tim Dyer showed up, and there were all those Antifa people there.
Oh my
That
god! Oh yeah, you were there for that one. I had that one.
and then
Yeah,
we ended up having to go to a CC's Pizza,
yeah, you were there.
and
I was there with you.
those
Yeah,
people from the Church of God from Warsaw were there too.
yeah. That was actually my event, and Tim Dyer had got mad at me because I made that event without his approval. I was like, "What the heck, Tim? Not everything needs to be ran by you." But then we had
Oh my God,
uh,
yeah,
uh,
he was something else.
and then we recouped, and then we came back with stronger numbers in August, and that was after Governor Eric Holcomb had implemented that mandate law where he wanted to arrest 11-year-olds for not wearing a mask. 11-year-olds. Oh, I could not. And then we had,
Oh, I didn't know he wanted to do that.
yeah, yeah, and
I
then
knew he wanted to make it a Class A misdemeanor for violating
including
the mask
11-year-olds.
mandate,
Yeah.
and give us $1,000 fine or 6 months in jail. That's what I thought.
Yeah, he included
And I
11
was
year
like,
olds in
hell
that.
no.
And that's why Curtis Hill, our former Attorney General, disagreed with him. And we had Senator Jim Tomes join us at the rally, and it was a good rally. I'll tell you that. It was a very good rally. A lot of people, a lot
Didn't
of
Kurt
energy.
Knisley speak with Curtis Hill about that too?
What?
Didn't Kurt Knisley speak with Curtis Hill about that too? Because Governor Holcomb was trying to make a criminal law when that's in the job of the General Assembly, not the governorship.
Yep, Kurt Knisley actually did. And then the crooked Republicans here in the state of Indiana spent like $1 million to oust him and John Jacob out, which I thought that was pathetic.
Yeah,
Just ridiculous. Just
and
absolutely
then
ridiculous.
of course Curtis Hill, when he challenged Governor Holcomb on that, pissed Governor Holcomb off
Oh
royally.
yeah, and then
So
they
then Governor Holcomb went and accused him of sexual being inappropriately touching a few women, brought that to the Supreme Court Judicial Disciplinary Commission, and got him suspended for a month while he was Attorney General.
a
I
lot
mean,
of
talk
people.
about
Go ahead. A lot of
a
people
lot
don't.
of people what?
A lot of people don't know this, but Loretta Rush actually worked for the helm of the GOP establishment here in the state of Indiana. So whatever the establishment GOP tells her to do, that's exactly what she does. She doesn't follow the law here in the state of Indiana. She follows what the establishment says, and people can agree to disagree with me on that, but her actions show otherwise. And so this is why I do not like her. And she's also in charge of the Indiana Disciplinary Commission, which also punished Curtis Hill. They wanted to make an example out of Curtis Hill, and that's exactly what they did. And Governor Eric
Yep.
Holcomb is good friends with Loretta Rush.
Was she involved in getting Doug Bernanke disbarred too?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I think Doug had mentioned something about it, but I don't know if it's. I got to reach out to him and see if that's true. I
I
don't
know he
remember
messaged
exactly.
me something in Facebook Messenger once, a few months ago, about that woman.
Yeah, she actually got the lowest votes ever for a to retain what's that thing called? So in Indiana,
Retention?
we don't really get to elect a judge, but we get to choose whether or not we get to retain them another 6 or 4 years, whatever. I think it's 6 years. And so Loretta Rush was the first Supreme Court judge state of Indiana to get the lowest votes. She still got over 50% of the votes, but It was barely 50. No other Supreme Court judge has gotten that, and nobody really talks about that. So, yeah. I wish she did. I wish a lot of Hoosiers voted no. I wish she got under 50%, because then we would Governor
We
Braun would
would
have
have
had
had
to
another
appoint
judge.
Governor Braun would have had to appoint a new judge, and that would have been. I think Governor Braun would have picked a decent one. What do you think, Johannes?
Probably. I mean, Governor Braun, on the whole, is not a bad man. I mean, he was good in the Senate, and I remember when all when Kelly Degnan was pushing the LGBT garbage in Georgia before Biden switched her out with the current ambassador of Georgia, Robin Dunnigan, who's even worse than Kelly Degnan. I'd reached out to Governor Brown's office and said, look, I mean, what Kelly Degnan is doing in Georgia is really embarrassing us, and the Georgian people don't like this LGBT stuff, and 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 there was something else Kelly Degnan was doing. I can't remember what it was, but Governor Brown, Senator Brown at the time, had his foreign policy liaison call me back, and we talked for about an hour about Georgia and about Ukraine and about how the people were, and obviously his foreign policy liaison knew that I understood the languages and I watched the news over there, so he was very interested in what I had to say.
Yeah, it's just I don't know too much about the foreign politics. I know a little bit about it. I know that the Europe is turning more conservative, as what I read from AP and the Reuters and Fox and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, Europe is having a huge conservative movement. Of course, the champions of European conservatism are Viktor Orban, and he's in power in Hungary. Robert Fico, who they actually tried to assassinate and almost killed him. He had 5 bullets that landed within inches of his heart. He was in a coma for a while. He was in the hospital for about 3 months. He's the prime minister of Slovakia.
Didn't Germany elect?
And then you've got
Johannes, didn't Germany elect a conservative prime minister too?
yeah, the AFD.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was crazy because the media was just going
AFD,
hard on him.
Alternative für Deutschland.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was crazy because the media was like, "Oh my goodness, we're bringing Nazi Germany back," and all the media
Oh,
over there
and
was
you know
just
what's
terrible.
crazy, Gabe? You know what's crazy about Germany? If you look at the electoral map of Germany, where the AFD got the most votes,
Was in liberal
is
cities.
exactly what used to be East Germany and East Berlin.
Remember those were liberal cities.
Not only that, okay, that part of Germany was under communism, and they saw where the EU was going. So, of course, they were more inclined to vote for the AFD
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they didn't want to go back to communism.
Nobody wants to go back to communism. Communism is not a realistic form of a life. It really isn't, you know. And I don't understand why people support communism. I think that's the dumbest thing ever.
And I know a lot about East Germany because half of my mother's side of the family lived there. And whenever we went to Europe, my grandparents lived in West Berlin. They lived in a neighborhood in West Berlin called Lichterfelde Ost, which is like in the southern part of West Berlin. It was in the American sector, um, and and uh, some of my grandmother's relatives lived in East Berlin. So we would all go to East Berlin, but because my Aunt Monica, my Uncle Gerhard, my grandparents were all West German citizens, and we were Americans, we had to go through different checkpoints. So my uncle Gerhard was always the one driving, and so he would drop us off at Checkpoint Charlie, and we, with our American passports, we would cross Checkpoint Charlie because Checkpoint Charlie was the checkpoint for the Allied citizens. So anybody who was a U.S. citizen, British citizen, or a French citizen, they wanted to go into East Berlin. They went through Checkpoint Charlie. Germans went through another checkpoint. So we would walk across through Checkpoint Charlie, and then we walked up to Friedrichstrasse, where we would meet up with my uncle Gerhard, my aunt Monica, and my grandparents. And then we'd get back in the car and we would go to where our relatives were. And I remember the Stasi, the Stasi, which was the East German secret police, made the Soviet KGB look like Boy Scouts. I mean, they were ruthless, and the East German guards and the military, their uniforms looked exactly like Nazi uniforms without the swastikas.
Yeah.
And and uh, and and I remember foreigners going into an East German's apartment was a big no-no, East Germany. And I remember we were very worried about my brother because he never learned how to speak French and German like I did. He knew the important phrases like "where are the cookies" and stuff like that, but he we were very concerned that he would speak some English words, and we didn't know, the way these Soviet style apartment high rises are built, you can hear the neighbors. Okay, the walls are very thin. You can hear the neighbors, and you never knew if your next door neighbor was Stasi, and people literally disappeared and were never seen again.
Yeah, this is not what we want in America. We need our republic here, and that's exactly what this country was founded on, and we
That's
need to
why we
keep
need
it
to
that
get rid
way.
of police corruption because it's going to lead to that.
Oh, well, as you can see, we already have police corruption. Look here in Indianapolis. Look there in Lake County. Lake County's probably as bad as Marion County. And
Even in parts of LaPorte County, like Michigan City.
yeah, let's talk about that. What's going on with that, Johannes?
Well, the last municipal election, Michigan City elected this Democrat mayor who is an ultra leftist, liberal. Um,
See, I'm okay with moderate Democrats, but when it comes to like
so
radical
this one is like
progressives, oh
hardcore
gosh.
leftist. She's a black woman. She's very racist, and and she is hell bent on destroying the conservative and the Republican competition in the Michigan City area. And if she could, she would probably try and get Democrats put in LaPorte as well.
Well, let's talk about
Her
how.
problem though is her problem though is the LaPorte County government is mostly Republican. I mean, the county
It,
LaPorte County commissioners are all Republicans. Connie Grammarosa is a Republican. Steve Holyfield's a Republican, and Joe Haney's a
so
Republican.
she's
Um,
trying to go full authoritarian, huh, up there, like a dictatorship.
well, I didn't know that she had something out against me. It was Jason who had the suspicion because
Jason's a contractor, has a contract to the city, right?
well, no, he's not a city contractor. He's a contractor. He
Yeah.
works on private homes,
But
but
doesn't he have a contract
basically,
with the city where he does like landscaping or something like that for like a couple of
no, no, he
buildings?
doesn't do that. He
Oh, okay.
doesn't
I
do
thought he
that.
did. Okay.
So he just works on private homes and he flips houses.
Oh, but
Um,
they're going after him over the stupidest stuff with the housing stuff, right? Is that what it was?
oh, it's ridiculous. See, basically, what Mayor Angie did was she um, she divided the building department in half because she's trying to take over everything. And the building department has quite a few Trump supporters in it. So she she was able to get her people in the code enforcement part. So now there's two departments. The building department and the code enforcement department are separate. It used to be all one department. Now they're separate. So Jason doesn't get a problem getting building permits because the lady in charge of the building permits is a strong Trump supporter, and she'll get the permits for him. But
Good.
then it's the code enforcers. They come and nitpick at everything. They made Jason pay a few fines. So Jason basically told me after I got arrested, he said, basically, Angie knows who I am. She doesn't like me.
Yeah, because you ran against one of her
Uh,
friends back in, what was it, 2022 or 2024?
and it was just a primary,
Yeah, all
I
it
didn't
was
even
was a
get a chance to
primary.
run against
Yeah.
Pohl because I didn't win the primary. But I did make Senator Pohl very uncomfortable. He did not want me in the race at all.
Yeah, because your dad actually was a former city councilman in the Michiana Shores, right?
Yes, he was. And ironic thing is, uh, Senator Pohl studied political science uh, at IUN. So chances are he probably had my dad as a professor, but he doesn't really remember my dad, and my dad doesn't remember him, so he probably was not a top student because my dad had very high standards when he taught, and you know uh,
I've met your dad
a
numerous
lot of
times. He's
people
very
didn't cut the
intelligent.
mustard as far as my dad was concerned.
Well, I'll say this: your
My
dad.
dad expected you to know how to write. He never gave multiple guess tests. All his tests were essay.
Yeah, I met your dad numerous times, and he's a very smart individual. Very, very smart. Very intellectual person.
Well, he got his PhD at the University of Chicago in political science.
And then he studied, and then he became a teacher out there, right?
Yeah,
A professor, my bad.
he first taught at various different colleges. He taught at Purdue North Central, which is now part of Purdue Northwest. He taught at he didn't get his tenure there, so then he taught at VU for a while, and VU, as you know, is a very liberal school. Uh,
Yeah, well,
I was in like the second grade.
most colleges are liberal nowadays. It's very hard to
Yeah,
find
they
one that's
are.
more independent or more.
IU IU Northwest wasn't that bad until recently, but but VU was horrible, and I was in in the first and second grade when my dad taught at VU, and he basically they fired him because on the student evaluations, the students complained that his political science classes were anti-communism one and anti-communism two.
What?
And
What
then
the
by
stu?
1984, he got hired to teach part time at IU Northwest. Or no, before 1984, I think he started teaching at IU Northwest around 1983 or so. By 1984, by the time I was in sixth grade, he started teaching there as an associate professor, as a full time professor. He was tenure track. And finally, my dad got his tenure at IU Northwest when I was in college. And I went to college at IU Northwest.
Okay. Now, Johannes, are you going to be joining us on on the Unfiltered Show for next Sunday? So we'll be having Randall McAllister as a special guest. He's will be at the.
Sure, I'd be glad to.
Okay, so you know you've worked with Randall in the past through the campaigns when we were doing that. Randall's actually going. He's going to give us an update what happened with Victoria Sparks' town hall this Saturday. She's having a town hall. Republicans have launched this campaign. It's a national thing where they're not having any more town halls anymore. I don't know why, but Republicans are just.
I'll tell you why it is. If it's anything like what's going on in Northwest Indiana, the Democrats are heckling the hell out of them.
Oh yeah, they are. Like I'll say this: Democrats are a lot more. This is where Democrats actually get us Republicans. They know how to mobilize. Oh gosh, they really
They
do.
do. They do.
I saw in
And they
Evansville.
are aggressive.
Yeah, listen to this, Johannes. I saw in Evansville that they like hundreds of them were out in front of Mesmer's office because Mesmer was not doing any town halls. They also did a town hall for Todd Young, and Todd Young didn't even show up. This is Republicans are gonna lose 2026 if they are not out there campaigning and fighting for the American
Yeah,
people.
we got to get nasty with these Democrats. And you know, a lot of these protesters, a lot of them don't even live here. They're being paid to come here.
Yeah, a
They're
lot of
being
them. Yeah,
bussed over
yeah.
here.
What we saw in 2020 was black people were being paid by the George Soros Foundation and the DNC. They were busting them all in to riot here in the city of Indianapolis. This is what's crazy
And
is
also, what was it 2 or 3 years ago when we had the SB one when we all wanted to go to SB one and John Jacob thought it wasn't close enough or far enough to get all abortions banned. Uh, those liberals got into the state house. They were so loud,
oh, I saw that. I saw
and
that
you were in the
actually.
Senate chamber with me. They were so loud that even with the doors closed and the thick walls that separate the Senate chamber from the main concourse of the state house, they were so loud we could still hear them to the point where we could barely hear what the people making their
Johannes,
testimonials were saying.
Johannes,
I even tried to get the sergeant of arms to tell them to quiet down so we could hear the people talk.
Johannes, did you see how many people were there at the South Lawn? Oh my God, there was protesters everywhere. A sea of protesters there protesting John Jacob. It was insane. And John Jacob,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
remember the state troopers built a circle around him too. That was insane.
I remember that. And Scott was there with me.
Who was there with you, Scott?
Scott, my friend Scott Skarupa, he was with me.
Scott's awesome.
And
Tell
I
Scott I
remember
said
we
hi.
were coming to the state house. All these liberals were surrounding my car, and I still had my blue Subaru at the time, and and they were giving us the finger, and they were yelling out, "Fuck Trump, fuck you!" And Scott's like, "Uh oh," and he's like, "Why are they yelling that at us?" And I was like, "Oh, it's your car."
Hey,
So
Johannes. Remember they were screaming, "My body, my choice, my choice, my body." It's like,
yeah,
okay, look, Johannes. I'll say this. Okay, look, there are pretty women on both sides, but it's always the land whales that are screaming, "My body, my choice." Okay, sorry, land
yeah,
whales,
it's
you
the
ain't gonna get any
Democrats.
action.
It's the
Okay, I'm
Democrats
sorry.
that are so fat they got more chins than Chinatown.
They got
And
more.
there was one
Johannes.
there was one fatso over there. She had this big sign around her neck,
Oh
and it said,
gosh.
"Keep your hands off my pussy." I told her, "I don't even want your pussy. It's probably full of crabs."
Hey, Johannes. They had more crabs than the crab ragoons at the Chinese buffet.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a French song. I'll sing part of it, but it's Lent, so it's like it's called Le Bateau de Vie, the boat of life. And there's a part of that song. Et les morpillons nagent dedans comme the crabs are swimming in there like fish.
Oh goodness. So
That's another thing my friend in Canada and we like the same chanson paillard, but I think that's probably just a French thing in general.
okay,
My dad
Johannes.
used to sing those songs to me when I was a kid.
So Johannes, our in 2026 we're gearing up for elections here in Indiana. Then after that's the municipal in 2027. So what elections are going to be up in your area in 2026? We know congressional and
Well,
the Secretary of
Senator
State's up.
Rodney Pohl, Senator Rodney Pohl will be up for re-election,
So do you? Oh, I have another
and I
question.
plan to run against him as a Republican.
Johannes, real quick. Do you think Diego Morales has a chance of winning? Because I'm hearing a lot of things with Diego, and I know Diego on a personal level. But the thing is that I think he's gonna have a rough time getting reelected after his first term because there was a lot of incidents going on with him. I know he did a lot of blunders during the Senate committee hearing with his budget. His budget's been out of control. Some of it I can defend, but what do you think, Johannes? Do you think the establishment's going to run somebody better
I
than
don't
him,
know.
or what's
I
going
actually
on?
like the guy.
I like Diego too.
I actually like Diego Morales.
Yeah, I I
But
do.
the thing I wish he would do is we need to really secure our elections. We cannot have open primaries.
He campaigned on that in 2022, and he hasn't. I'm sorry, but he really hasn't done that at all.
Yeah, he hasn't delivered on it.
Yeah. He also said he was going to ban Dominion software, and he hasn't done that either.
Yeah, something needs to be done. And my opponent in the Republican primary last year, Jeff Larson, ran against this very good, viable conservative candidate in State House District 10, which is Chesterton. That's Manuel Maldonado. Unfortunately, Manuel Maldonado lost by a very narrow margin uh, to Democrat Chuck Mosley. But Jeff Larson ran against Manuel Maldonado and beat him. And beat him.
Really?
Manuel Maldonado won the primary in 2022, but Jeff Larson beat him in 2024. I'm like, how the hell does this complete moron who calls himself a Republican but is against constitutional carry win against such a strong conservative?
But the strong conservative,
Okay,
Johannes, the strong conservative was already in office, right? He was already elected in the state legislature, right?
no, he wasn't. He was close. He won. It was a close margin, but Chuck Mosley defeated him by a very narrow margin.
Now you have to look at the campaign finance reports. Campaign finance reports tell you a whole different story about the candidate. That being said, is Chuck Morris could have had the establishment backing too. There's that.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Jeff Larson, okay, I was surprised he was running against me when I ran for state senate.
Mhm. That was it. What year
But
was
the
that?
guy, 2022,
Okay.
Jeff Larson, basically, Jeff Larson teaches construction class at Chesterton High School. Um, he's about as smart as the shit that comes out of my ass. Okay. Uh, Dion Bergeron cannot stand him.
Why
So can
isn't
a
why
lot of
doesn't the
other
why
people.
does the Dion like him?
Because he's too liberal. He's against constitutional carry. He's against
So he's a
he's
rhino then.
pro-abortion.
He's a rhino then,
Yeah.
right? A Republican in name only.
At
For our
first, we
viewers that
thought
don't
he
know what a
was the
rhino is.
rhino establishment. All the patriots in the Northwest Indiana Tri-County, at least all the Porter County patriots that I'm associated with. Kelly on Facebook, she goes by Kelly Freedom. She hasn't been that active much lately anymore, but
Well,
she
Facebook's
was
been
always there with her kids, and her daughter Layla got involved for a while. Um, she never even knew who he was. Uh, Dawn didn't particularly care for him because she remembered, see, Dawn's thing, Dawn Miller's wonderful lady. I'd love to get her into a faculty class because Dawn is very good at asking the right questions. But the thing is these politicians, especially Jim Biggs, will talk circles around Dawn. I mean, if we could get Dawn in a faculty class, she'd be lethal.
Oh yeah,
She'd
Don
be
would actually
lethal
be good.
because she's really good at asking the right questions.
Oh yeah.
And she even ran for Porter County Council. She had a bone to pick with Jeff Larson because basically Jeff Larson was on the Porter County Council, voted to give COVID money to pay to fund the Valparaiso Opera House, which is more like a gay club than it is a real opera house. And I mean, I'm sorry, they don't play any of the good classic operas like Verdi or Puccini. It's not an opera house, and it's definitely not the Tbilisi Opera House. The Tbilisi Opera House is way more beautiful. I actually saw an opera there. I actually saw two performances. But but uh, uh, but then uh, but then the thing about Jeff Larson is he had half a term at the Porter County Council. Then he resigned in the Republican primary. I can't remember what year it was, to run against Porter County Commissioner Jim Biggs in the Republican primary, and then he got defeated by Biggs. So now he's practically a nobody. So Democrats are using him as a spoiler because he ran and he'll probably run against me again. I would not be surprised. Um, but uh, but but he defeated Manuel Maldonado. How is that possible? How did this nobody manage to defeat Manuel Maldonado? Well, there were billboards all over the state that George Soros financed, calling on Democrats to come in and vote in the Republican primary.
That actually
Needless
did
to say, all the Democrats, half of them probably bust in from the Chicago area,
Well,
as
Johannes,
I like to call them, the SIPs. Um, they come in there and vote for the guy so that there's a weak candidate in the Republican Party so that their Democrat can win.
Johannes, you have to remember Democrats actually did that here in the governor's race. They were crossing over to vote for what's his name, Brad Chambers. Actually, a lot of Democrats wanted Brad Chambers because he was more of a moderate Republican, and they know that Democrats can't win in a statewide election. The last time the Democrats have actually held a statewide office was in 2018.
That's true.
Yeah, and so Republicans have owned the supermajority, and you have to remember that it's because of gerrymandering. We need to get rid of gerrymandering and let the people vote, because that would actually help us a lot better in a
Yeah, I
lot of
know.
counties.
I'm in Mervan's district, and before Mervan was a congressman, it was Visclosky. But but uh, we've been in Visclosky's district probably since I would like to say the early 2000s. Prior to that, we were actually in Jackie Walorski's district.
Yeah, Jackie actually was a good U.S. senator. I'm sorry, but this is my conspiracy for the day. But I think they killed her
She
because
was a congresswoman, not a senator.
oh yeah, Congresswoman. I think they killed Jackie Warzarski because
Yeah, I think they did
now,
too.
well, let me finish this. Let me finish this, Johannes, for our viewers that don't know this. Jackie Walarski was actually just found sex trafficking, and she was going to expose it in a congressional hearing. A lot of people don't know about this, but she was. And so it was convenient how all of a sudden her and her other staff members. Now I might get attacked for this. I don't care really. I get attacked all the time for the most stupidest things. But she was actually she had a hearing she had a hearing 2 weeks before she died in the congressional hearing about sex trafficking, and she was actually exposing sex trafficking here in the state of Indiana. Well, they told her not to do it. I don't know who these people are, but they told her, they threatened her, and she decided to go through with it. And then next thing we know, she was killed in a
They
car
planned an
accident.
accident.
Yeah,
And Georgia's first president, Zviad Gamsahurdia, his his right hand man, Merab Kostava, was killed in a very similar way.
yeah. They do that. If they don't like you, they'll kill you in a car accident or give you a heart attack. Did you see Biden's former attorney for the White House had died mysteriously for over a heart attack in her house? Arlington police
No,
was
I
called
didn't
there.
hear that. When did that happen?
Today, I think it was today or yesterday.
Wow, really?
Yeah, just mysteriously, and
Well, I
she
guess
was
it'll
young.
probably be on Alex Jones then.
She was young, so maybe she took the COVID shot. I'm not sure, but yeah, she was very young. It was very mysterious
A
how
lot of
she's
people
died.
are dying after taking that COVID shot.
Did you see George Foreman died as well too?
Yes, he did. Yeah, I know. Scott called me. You know, Scott's a big boxing guy.
Oh yeah,
He called me and said that George Foreman died. He was pretty depressed about it because that was one of his favorite boxers.
George Foreman's a good guy. He really is, and I just can't believe he just passed away. But
Yeah, he was a decent guy. My mother really wanted his grill, but I don't think we ever got it.
yeah, it's just yeah. Well, he also took the COVID shot. That's why I didn't take the COVID shot because it was rushed. I'm sorry, but I'm
Well,
sorry it was just rushed
I'm
underneath
proud.
Trump.
I'm proud to have made a fake COVID vaccine card.
Don't say that now. Don't say that now, because there's still liberal prosecutors out there who come and attack you. But yeah, I never made one. I never got one. But I refused the COVID vaccine. Because
Oh, I did too.
because if you look now, there's actually an acronym. It's called SAD, sudden adult death. And what it's doing is it's killing all the young people now. What it's doing is the mRNA is changing the DNA and expanding your heart. And so when it expands your heart, boom, you're dead. You drop like a fly.
Well, you know what else it's doing? Okay, these COVID shots have a substance called graphene oxide,
Yes, graphene, and it's creating the lumps inside your
and
blood.
it makes people crazy.
Yeah, it makes people crazy, and they're also when the coroner is doing like draining all the blood out of your body for to go to the funeral home, he's finding lumps of blood cells clumped up like worms, and that's actually true.
Well, yeah, that's from the myocarditis.
Yeah,
But graphene oxide attacks the brain, and it makes people go insane. And now, and even though I'm able to get insulin cheap in the United States, all of a sudden, my brother was trying to get me to quit going to Canada to get the insulin. Well, then there was this doctor that came on the Alex Jones show. I'm like, why is it I can get a card to get insulin, Basaglar from Eli Lilly for $26 when Basaglar actually costs $600 in the U.S.? And then, of course, there was the story that they are going to be putting graphene oxide in injectable medicines, including dental anesthetics and insulin. Uh, and I'm like, no, I'd rather pay more, get it in Canada where graphene oxide is illegal. At least I know I'll have clean insulin and I'm
see,
not going to have that shit in my body.
I think
And now
Johannes.
my dentist is retiring, so I got to find a good dentist that's gentle and that has clean dental anesthetics that doesn't have the graphene oxide in there. Otherwise, I'll go get my teeth done
You
in
know,
Canada and pay out of
Johannes,
pocket.
Johannes, I think John F. What's it? Not John F. Robert F.
Robert F.
Kennedy
Kennedy,
Jr. Needs to talk to these companies about banning graphite. What's it called? Again, Johannes.
graphene oxide.
Yep, yep. I know.
Well, I think he's
RFK
aware
Jr.
about it, and I think it's going to take time. It's the he can't do all this
Oh,
stuff overnight.
exactly, exactly.
He's
Yeah.
not. He's done a lot already, but he's not God.
Oh yeah, I know. And Trump's doing a lot too right now. Doing a lot right now.
Yes, he
Okay.
is.
But what? Okay,
Oh yeah.
so hear this, Johannes. Okay, so Trump was talking about today that he got a invite, that the United States got an invite to be a member of the UK. What are your thoughts about that? I'm totally opposed to it because we went to war in 1776. We fought tooth and nail to get the hell under the British
Got an
monarchy.
invite to be part of the UK.
Yeah, I'm not for that. Trump was like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." And I'm like, "Oh hell no." What are your thoughts about that?
What are my thoughts? Get the bloody hell out of here, you bloody pissant.
So you're opposed to it as I am, right?
Yeah.
I
No, I don't want.
yeah.
Look,
The UK's some
Canada,
trash. I'm sorry, but they are. We don't need their type of
they
policies
are. And
in our country.
Keir Starmer's a piece of shit.
He really is.
And look, Canada, Canada is not really a sovereign country, nor is Australia, nor is New Zealand.
Yeah, they're both under the British
They're
monarchy.
part of the British Commonwealth.
Yeah,
They have
exactly.
their own government, they have their own parliament, and their parliamentary system is very similar to the British parliamentary
Well,
system.
yeah. I don't want to be
Um,
part. This is the USA. This is not the UK. Okay, the UK can go kick
right,
rocks.
exactly.
Okay.
And 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 basically in Canada, for example, and I'm sure it's very similar in Australia and New Zealand, in Canada, the provinces are supposed to have some sort of autonomy, and the each province has a premier. That's what they call their governor executive. They call it a premier. Like Doug Ford is the premier of Ontario, for example, um, and they have their own provincial governments. But Trudeau has kind of taken a lot of that autonomy away. Now, what Mark Carney is doing has yet to be seen.
He's the new prime minister,
But
right, of Canada, Mark Hardy.
yeah, Mark Carney is the new prime
You know
minister
what's
now.
crazy is
There's supposed to be elections for a new prime minister that are supposed to be held in November, I believe.
well, you know what, Johan? It's really weird because like Trudeau, it was attacked by us, by the Republican and conservative side for being too liberal, and then we find out McCarthy's like absolutely more liberal than Trudeau is.
Actually, Carney is not even Canadian.
He's French, isn't he?
No, he's British.
What?
Yes, he's British.
So the British installed him? Sounds about right.
He's from the Bank of England.
Sounds about right. The British installed him to control Canada. Sounds about
And,
right.
and Pierre Poilievre is a Quebecois French, but he's a controlled opposition.
Oh yeah.
So he'd be like the Canadian equivalent of a rhino. The real conservative populist candidate actually was on the Alex Jones show, and this person, my friend, supports. His name is Maxime Bernier, and of course he's also another Quebecois French.
Well, what about Pierre? What do you think about Pierre?
Pierre Poilievre is another Holcomb.
Really? I thought he was
Yes,
all right.
yes.
Now, why do you say
Uh,
that? Why do you say that for our
Bernier,
viewers?
Bernier, Bernier actually wants to secure the Canadian Charter and guarantee the rights of Canadians. He wants to give all the provinces their autonomy again. And, you know, actually, this whole thing with the tariffs, the one province that really understands the whole idea why Trump wants these tariffs is Alberta. And there's talk that Alberta might actually, on its own, leave Canada to join the U.S. because they want to be able to sell their gas without the tariffs. And Maxime Bernier is saying that if he would be the new Canadian Prime Minister, he would get to talks with Trump. He would come up with an agreement that would be zero tariffs for both countries, and it would benefit the United States, and it would also benefit Canada.
Hmm. So you don't agree with the
But you
tariffs,
see,
Johannes,
the
right?
globalists, the globalists, the globalists, they don't want Maxime Bernier's message to be heard. So they put Pierre Poilievre in there as the controlled opposition.
So you don't agree with Trump's tariffs, do you, or no? Yes or no? Do you agree with the tariffs that we have against Canada? And do you agree with Canada's tariffs against us in retaliation with that too?
Well, I think the way Trump is handling Canada, I don't agree with it 100%, but I don't disagree with it 100% either. Okay?
Yeah, I
I
understand.
think tariffs are great. I think tariffs are great on the whole because number one, that's actually constitutional, unlike the income tax, which is not.
And property taxes are not constitutional either. Tariffs are, yeah, you're right. Tariffs are constitutional. Property taxes and income tax are not. And and a lot of our viewers don't know this, but property tax was made for temporarily during the World War II. That's correct, right? Or was it World War One? Johannes, which one was
I
it?
don't know when they got started.
I think it was
The
World War
reason why I'm
Two.
so against the property tax is a
Well,
lot of it is using to pay for these departments of education, which should better be known as departments of indoctrination.
Well, they got Trump abolished that. I'm glad he did because all it did was brainwash, and they lied to my
Yeah,
generation and generations before me. So I'm okay with them. I think education should be a state issue. I actually do have my substitute teacher's license here in the state of Indiana. I think this should be a state issue, not a federal issue. And we've actually seen a decline of generations, test scores going down since
yes,
since the Department of
yes.
Education has been implemented by the former president Jimmy Carter. A lot of people don't know that, and a lot of young people like myself don't know that. So I'm a little bit of a history junkie.
And even the parochial schools, and I can vouch for this because I'm a product of parochial schools. But even the parochial schools, people thought the parochial schools were better than public schools.
Oh yeah,
Maybe they are.
homeschool. I
Maybe
was
they
home.
are.
I'll say this: I was
But
homeschooled too,
but
Johannes.
but to tell you the truth, even in parochial school, I never really learned anything. I'm one of those types, and my teachers hated me for this. And they would always complain to my mother, and they would tell him, "There's something about Johannes, he's very smart, but we can't teach him." And that's because, you know, something struck my interest. I just will go deeper into it. And but when I do that, I'm outside of the structure that the teacher is trained to teach. And so I'm learning something that's light years ahead of all my classmates, and it drove them nuts. It's like for example, in sixth grade, we had in sixth grade science class, we had this chapter on diseases. We had this chapter, we talked about different diseases caused by protozoans, by uh, 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 bacteria, viruses, etc. And I was very interested in that. And so my mother would take me to her school, which ironically was an all black school. It's Chicago State University. Don't confuse it with University of Chicago. Completely different entity. It's in the Pullman neighborhood. All my mother's students were black. Um, and she had some pretty good students there. Uh, but the thing about that school is the library was phenomenal. They had an excellent library in that school. You could get books about practically anything. I learned Russian from books in that library.
Oh yeah.
They had a whole Большая Советская Encyclopedia, all in Russian from 1954 in that library. They had all they had all of Lermontov's books, they had all of Pushkin's books. I actually checked out Tolstoy's War and Peace in Russian in that from that library and read it from cover to cover when I started teaching myself Russian.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but
So
Johannes.
and then when I was a kid, I was sick after we went on this camp out in January with the Boy Scouts called the Polar Bear Camp out where we camped in tents in the snow. I got sick, so it gave me an excuse to stay home from school for a week. And Shogun was on TV, so my mother would let me watch Shogun with
Now,
her and
Johannes,
my
for
dad.
Johannes, for our viewers that don't know, you speak 6 languages, right?
Six languages fluently.
So I want to let our viewers know, Johannes actually picked up Hindi. We were working on a couple campaigns down in Kentucky, and tell them why you learned Hindu. It is the most funniest thing. Tell our viewers how why you learn Hindu. Hindi or Hindu, whatever it's called.
just to deal with the phone scammers.
So yes, this is our unfiltered show. So you're okay, Johannes. But yeah, you're okay to curse a little bit. But yes,
Yeah, it's like okay. One of the best calls. This one is one of my favorites actually. Um, so I get this call on our house phone. Hello, my name is Mark. I'm calling from Erickson Roofing Company, and our people will be out today, and we're wondering if you want to get a free estimate on your roof. And I'm like, "Bosa Bharat mein kya hai, motherchod? How's the weather in India, motherfucker?" So he uh, he answers back, "Are you fucking crazy? You really need therapy. You need therapy. You need to go see the therapist. The therapist will help you." And then I'm like, "Hey, मादा चोद, मैं अभी बारात में जा रहा हूँ, लेकिन तेरी माँ चोदूंगा, वो
oh
मेरा
hell
लान पे
no.
चढ़ेंगी," which basically means, "Hey, motherfucker, I'm about to come to India and I'm gonna fuck your mother and she's gonna give me a
Oh
blowjob."
my
He
goodness.
responds, "So I see your parents do not teach you the
But
manners.
they cuss you
You're a
back
really
too.
lonely person. You really need therapy. You should look. Go talk to the therapist. The therapist will help you." And I'm
Johannes,
like,
but they also
like,
cuss you back,
mother
right?
chode,
Johannes, they cuss
huh?
you back too, right? They
Oh
cuss
yeah,
you
they
back in
will.
Hindu too. Yeah, it is hilarious. I'm sorry, but
Sometimes,
yeah, it is
sometimes,
hilarious.
sometimes. One time, we would get these robocalls from Amazon,
Oh gosh, I
and
hate
when
them
Todd Rashida
robocalls
finally
so
cracked
much.
down on those, but we would get these phone calls from Amazon. It was a recording. You have a purchase of an iPhone 11 Pro for
You can tell it's a scam. Come on, people.
$999.99 from the Amazon account associated with this number. If you want to dispute the charge, please press 1. I press 1 and it's an Indian guy. "Hello, thank you for calling Amazon. Are you calling to dispute the charge on your Amazon account?" And I'm like, "Tum scammer hai, mother chod." "Sir, no, I'm not a scammer." "Hey, mother chod, मैं अभी तेरी माँ चोदूँ." And then he answers back, uh, "मैं तेरी बहन छोड़ता हूँ, मैं तेरी बहन छोड़ने चाहता हूँ, तेरी बहन बहुत अच्छी है, मैं तेरी बहन छोड़ने चाहती हूँ, चाहता हूँ." And I'm like, "मैं तेरी माँ छोड़." "Sir, no, let me tell you in English. I really like your sister. I want to fuck your sister. She has
Oh
very
my
good pussy." I
goodness.
mean, they get raunchy out there. It's hilarious.
Yeah, they do. They get really raunchy on there. I've never, man, I swear, in other countries, they are. You think America's raunchy? Wait till you talk to foreigners overseas. Oh my gosh.
And 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 the thing is, okay, uh, when you cuss them out in their language, it completely catches them off
Yeah,
guard.
because
They have
yeah,
no idea what to do. It completely throws them off their
and then they be
scripts.
cursing on the
And
live recorded thing, and it's just hilarious.
and 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 so now they've stopped calling us. So now we get all these other robocalls.
I'm gonna have
And
to
I don't
pick
know if
up
you're
Hindi.
aware,
I
but in
swear, I'm gonna have to
Indiana,
pick it up.
now, okay, in Indiana, the only legal way you can have a robocall in Indiana is when a live human being first talks when you answer the phone to ask you to identify yourself. And once you identify yourself, she hits the button for the recording. So it's not an Indian voice; it's an American voice. So the phone will ring, and I'll pick up the phone. "Hello, hi, is Mr. Poulard there?" And I'm like, "Oh, you've reached the Poulard family mortuary and crematorium
Oh
where
hell
you bring
no.
us the bodies and we cook them up for you. Oh, I'm sorry, we'll take you off our calling list."
Oh hell
Or
no.
if I really want to get nasty, if I
Oh
really
hell
want to get
no.
nasty, I'll be like, the phone will ring. "Hello, is Mr. Poulard there? Hi, you've reached the LGBTQ
Oh
funeral home,
no.
where we prepare your loved ones for the necrophile's best dream. Uh, do you have a necrophile in your family? Oh, I'm sorry. We'll take you off our calling list."
Oh my gosh. That is insane. Well, yeah, sometimes you deal with these
Oh, and it worked.
robocalls like
They
that.
they
Yeah.
they don't call as much here anymore either.
Oh yeah. I've had man. I remember one time, I had a robocall and they kept calling me. Called me 7 times. So I got the pots and pans and I answered it and went clink 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 clink, and they hung up real quick. Never called me back. Never called me back after that. I was so pissed.
Well, you
Seven
want to
times
hear
in
a
a
good one.
day.
You want to hear a real good one. This was a couple years before my mother died. There was this lady with a British accent who kept calling us and left a voicemail all the time. This was like an IRS scam,
Oh goodness.
and
She
and
can
she
actually spend federal
every
prison for
every
that.
voicemail, every time there would be a voicemail. Hello, this is Jessica Thomas. This is a message for Mr. and Mrs. Regina Poulard. Uh, we need for Mr. or Mrs. Regina Poulard or their legal counsel to call this number, 1-800 blah 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 blah. If you do not call this number, we wish you the very best of luck. So
Oh
I
my
decided to call that
goodness.
800 number. And this cuck picks up the phone. He goes, IRS, can I help you? And I'm like, you're not IRS, you're a scammer.
Exactly.
He goes, he hangs up. So I call him back. Hello. I go, hey, soy boy, what are you doing trying to scam my sick mother, you cunt? He's like, don't fucking call this number anymore. Click. And I'm like, oh no. You're not putting me down. I'm not gonna be put down by a guy like that. Hell no.
Oh hell no.
So I call again. I call again. It rings. It rings. It rings. Hangs up. Like, I looked it up on Spokeo too, so I found out it was out of Atlanta. I call a second time. It rings. It rings. It rings. It rings. Hangs up. Third time, rings. Ring. Fourth time, it rings 3 times. He picks up the phone. What do you want from me? I'm like, yeah, is Jessica Thomas there? Oh, she's busy right now. I'm like, what do you want from her? I'm like, well, I just want, her British accent on our voicemail sounds so sexy. It, it really turns me on. I was just wondering if she wanted me to come down to Atlanta and she can suck my big,
Oh,
fat,
hold on.
2 foot
Censor,
long
censor,
dick.
censor, censor, censor.
Oh boy, they did not call our house again
Oh
after.
hell no. Oh my God, Johannes, Jesus.
They would call the neighbors. They would call the neighbors across the street. They would call the neighbors at the top of the hill. And the neighbor at the top of the hill used to work for the IRS. They even tried to scam him.
Oh, uh,
And they called
people
the
are
neighbors that
scamming
were
the
across the
IRS
corner.
workers. Oh hell no. They can go to federal prison
Yeah,
if they
they
get
tried to
caught.
scam. He worked as an internal investigator for the IRS, or an internal auditor for the
Oh
IRS.
hell
He didn't
no.
audit the public. He just audited like within the IRS. They even tried to scam him. Same
God, the
people.
balls of these people, Jesus.
And then I told him, well, I got him to stop calling. And I told him what I told you. He's like, you didn't say that. I said, I sure did. And they're not calling here anymore.
Hey Johannes, I have something to show you real quick. I got this framed because I got arrested over a tweet.
What frame is that? It's hard for me. Let me put my spectacles on.
Oh, hold on, let me put it up closer. Oh, hold on.
Show it again.
My mugshot. Hold on, let me see. The frame's acting out. There we go. Look at it. I got arrested over a tweet.
Is that your mugshot?
Yeah, it's my mugshot. I got arrested over a tweet. Remember last
Well, I
year?
actually made Busted News remove my mugshot.
Oh no, Abu. I think me and a couple of people actually think that he's gay for me because nobody. he is my number one stalker, and he just absolutely every day can't shut up about me. And then he's like, he wants a protective order against me, but he's like, he's commenting on my pages and on my personal stuff. So the case is gonna be thrown out, and I'm gonna sue his fucking ass all the way to his fucking grave. But yeah, I'm getting really tired of
Yeah,
him.
and then get yourself something nice with the money.
Hell yeah. I can't talk about it too much, but I have plans for that motherfucker after this state case gets thrown out.
Well, I'll tell
I
you
plan to
what,
tie him so
you
much
know,
in litigation, his
Michigan
fucking
City,
grandkids are gonna have
Michigan
litigation
City
if he has
does
any.
not know what they're waiting once I get this bogus DUI thrown out.
Oh yeah, and like yeah, I'm taking him to fucking cleaners and back. I don't give a fuck. He is just
And I'm
totally
gonna
obsessed
go
about me.
when I go to the doctor for my checkup tomorrow. I'm gonna ask him to check my blood type. So if those cops swapped files, it'll be a different blood
I
type.
wouldn't be
That way,
surprised
if
that they did it up there. They're crooked as bad as Marion County here.
well, if they did that, and that's a different blood type than mine, I can prove it. Hey, that's not my blood.
Yeah. I swear Lake County and Marion County are the worst. I've never seen corruption. You
Oh,
know,
Lake County is horrible.
I used to back the police, and I still do. I back the good cops, but I can't trust nobody here in Marion County. I can't trust no one. You can't. You know, it used to be back in the day. You know, you go outside of Marion County, you can trust anyone. You know, the Hoosier hospitality is there, but when you come in Marion County or Lake County, you just throw that Hoosier hospitality out the window. Hey, they're just crooked. I've never seen nothing
Well,
like
I'll
it.
tell you this. Okay, I've had two bad experiences with cops. Uh, I've had, the first time I was roughed up when I was already in the cuffs. I didn't even resist. I had my face slammed in the hood of the cop's
I remember you
prowler.
told me that. Yeah.
It caused severe whiplash, and that progressively caused my back to go. And of course, the stroke I had 8 years ago didn't help with that.
Yeah.
And my knees are progressively getting worse. So they expect me to pass a field sobriety test. Come on.
Yeah.
And if it has to go to court and we need to get a jury, I've got millions of people that can testify at how bad I was. I even have, my dad's former student, his wife is a nurse practitioner, and I want to consult her to get some treatments for my knees. And I'll get her to speak if I have to.
Yeah.
But I talked to one of Scott's friends who used to be a cop, and he told me, yeah, when we went to see Hulk Hogan last year, he said, I remember how far we had to walk to the car. He remembers how often we had to stop so I could sit down because he said he could definitely vouch that I have issues with my knees.
Yeah, and I can vouch too. I can sign an affidavit for you too as well, because this is what they're
Oh,
doing to
that'd
you
be
is just
great if you
fucking
could.
awful. It's disgraceful. But okay, so
I don't even know why they have those field sobriety tests.
they do it because
They,
of
they,
I support the field sobriety test, but at the same time is a cop should know when somebody's sick, and that this individual as a cop did not do that, did not request medical
what
help
they
for
need
you
to
at
do,
all.
okay? Instead of profiling these people, I get it. Okay, somebody looks like they might be drunk. But if the guy is saying, well, I have a fever, I'm not really feeling good, instead of just, playing the friendly cop and, getting, coaxing you to sit in his prowler, why doesn't he call the ambulance? Why doesn't he get a paramedic out there? Make sure the guy is okay. You know, what if, what if he takes me to the station and it's already past lunchtime, my sugar goes down, I pass out, I could die.
Yeah, yeah, and
They don't have the medical training that you would have at the hospital emergency room.
no, they don't. It's a sad thing, and it should have never happened. It's just ridiculous what they did to you, honest. So, but
And
Yeah, I'm glad
When
they took
somebody's
that
got a
mugshot of yours
fever
down.
and the fever is at 103 degrees, that's a pretty high fever.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
They should at least have a paramedic, or at least have a somebody who knows about medicine come out of the CVS there to check me out, and then maybe call an ambulance. Maybe have a paramedic come out there to check if I'm okay, and then send me home instead of doing all this stuff. That we need to and another part of this the police corruption that we have. We need we need to get rid of these unsung hero things where you've got all the media saying today we honor as an unsung hero this police officer from this municipality. He has 27 OWI arrests last year under his belt, making our streets safer. Why don't we have unsung hero awards for a cop that stops and helps a little old lady change a tire, or helps a family get back in their car when they forgot their keys in the car? The police are supposed to protect and serve the community. It's not just it's not just protect, it's protect and serve. What does that mean? If somebody has some problems and they flag a cop down, the cop sees the guy has a flat tire. They can help him change the tire. They can radio for help. They can help with a lockout. If the car is having mechanical trouble, they can help get a mechanic or a tow truck to get the car towed to a garage. That's what cops used to do back in the day.
Yeah, and now
And
they've just like weaponized, the especially Democratic leaders and Democratic cities have weaponized, the prosecutor's office, the local police office. It's like they have a mafia. They've like turned the whole city into a mafia, and they'll use it against you. And then they wonder why they're always being
yeah, well,
sued too over their corruption.
I'm telling you, this is you know
This is
what? This
sickening.
I'll tell you how the corrupt. I mean, we've had corruption in the police before all this, but when it really started, okay. Uh, Remember during Obama, you had these black people that were, and I would be surprised if they were paid to do this by George Soros, um, because a lot of blacks are not like this. A lot of blacks are normal people, just like we are, hardworking. But remember, you had this Baltimore incident where this black guy was in a headlock, and then they came out with this "I can't breathe" movement, and everybody was wearing the black T-shirts that had "I can't breathe" in white lettering. Remember that?
And then they did it again in 2022.
Yeah, and then you had that. What was that guy's name? I remember his last name was Brown over in St. Louis. When he tried to rob that convenience store. He attacked a police officer, and the police officer's life was in danger, and he shot the guy. And then all of a sudden, he's a racist. And then you had George Floyd in 2020. See, I believe all those events were done by design. They were done deliberately to get all the good cops to quit the force. And a lot of good cops did
Yeah, they did in
because they
2022.
couldn't do their job. They couldn't do their job anywhere. They were afraid to be called a racist,
Our drunk
or they
mayor,
were afraid to be called this or that.
Johannes,
So what happened?
our drunk mayor in fucking Indianapolis, Joe Hogshit, the town drunk, told the cops to stand down when they were rioting. Business, business owners, restaurants were being rioted. Buildings were being caught on fire. Police patrol cars were caught on fire. And
Yeah.
Joe Hogshit's hiding in his house, while the riots are happening. We got that confirmed. And the media praises him like he's some type of god. No, he's not. He's a fucking drunk.
Well, look at Tim Walz's wife said she loved the smell of tires burning when George Floyd, when Minneapolis was on fire.
Oh, hell no. What dumb thing to say.
Well, you see, You see, here's and burning tires, by the way, smell nasty.
Oh yeah,
I,
exactly.
I was I was in France. I was in France as a kid when they had the grève against François Mitterrand, and I remember we would go visit relatives all over France, and we had to take the small roads because the autoroute, which is their expressway, parts of it were blocked because the farmers and the truckers were burning tires to block the highway so you
Yeah.
could smell it. It's a nasty smell.
Now, Johannes, let's get a little bit backtrack here on the state of Indiana wise. Okay, so we have our, I believe it's 2028. Todd Young will be up for re-election. Um, what do you think that election is going to be? Do you think somebody's going to challenge Todd Young, and what's your opinion about Todd Young?
I hope so.
What's your
I
opinion
don't even
about
know
Todd
why
Young?
Todd Young calls himself a Republican. He votes Democrat on practically every issue.
I know, tell me about it. He's no different than Joe Donnelly. Oh my gosh.
Joe Donnelly used to be our congressman back in the day.
Yeah, I remember that. So, do you think that
Oh
Republic?
crap, my battery's going down.
Oh, how low is it?
It's making the noise.
Uh oh. Well, we might have to cut this short then. This session's gonna have to be short then. Okay, so real quick. So, Todd, do you think somebody's gonna challenge Todd Young, and who would you support to challenge Todd Young?
I would support anybody who's a good MAGA Republican.
I'd have to go with Curtis Hill. I hope Curtis Hill runs against him. That would be awesome to
Curtis Hill
see.
would be a good candidate.
Now, I could see, what's his name, Todd Rokita running for U.S. Senate. What are your thoughts?
He'd be good, but then who would we get as Attorney General for Indiana that's good as good as Todd Rokita or Curtis Hill?
Maybe dumbass Abu will run.
Oh, God forbid.
That dude's a fucking clown.
And I like to tell him in Uzbek, Abu kutangiski, bosherenge kuturam, kutak.
What? Tell us for explain that in English for our viewers. I don't understand that.
So that's Uzbek for Abu, I'm going to fuck you up the ass so you have
Oh
a
hell
dick in
no.
your head, you dick.
You want to tell our viewers that you went to Abu's house, Abdul Hakim Shabaz's house when you were selling Cutco?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay. Abu came in 2014. I was doing the state fair. And Abu came to the booth. Of course, I didn't know who he was at the time, but he really was an arrogant bastard.
He didn't tell
I
you who
mean,
he
he
was? Oh my god, Abu. He normally tells people
no,
who he
I never
is.
knew. I didn't really. I wasn't really involved in politics at the time. I was selling Cutco.
Yeah.
I was down in Indianapolis because I was working the Cutco booth at the state fair, and even my colleague thought he was an arrogant bastard.
He is.
So he signed up to get his Cutco sharpened. I'm like, okay, fine. Here's the paper. Sign up. And I see it's Abdul Shabazz. Uh,
Yeah.
and he lived in I think he lived in Palatine at the time. And so I went to his house. The guy is so fucking cheap. All he bought from me was a shears holster. And his knives were so dull I had to send half of them to the factory
Johannes,
because they were beyond what I could do.
Johannes,
And
hold on, Johannes. That's why he's wanting to get $400,000 from me. And that's why he had to arrest me because he's a fucking shit attorney. So he had to get a default judgment on me. He's a fucking
yeah,
clown.
yeah.
So cheap,
Well,
cheap ass
and
motherfucker.
not only that, he's gross. I mean, I guess he had somebody that was disabled living in the house because I had to use the lavatory while I was uh, taking care of his Cutco. And he had this riser on his toilet for like an elderly person. I guess his mother lived there or somebody. Oh my God. That toilet was so disgusting. There was shit all over the riser. It stank. It stank. Oh, it absolutely gross. I mean,
Well,
I,
Abu,
oh, nasty.
Abu really does stink, and I'll say this: we had to go. Me and my attorney, Ted Minch, fantastic attorney, by the way. I recommend him to anyone. We had to go to court for pretrial, where the judge actually dismissed herself. We had to get a new judge. Thank God, she was a woke bitch too. Um, but so we walk in. We're walking past Abu because Abu's sitting in front of the courtroom, right? And oh my god, he smelled fucking awful. And he's wearing this black blazer filled with cat hair and dog hair. And he stinks of fucking musk. It smells awful. And I'm like gagging a little bit. So we walk in the courtroom, right? And
Well, judging by how nasty his house is, no surprise.
exactly. We go into Judge Gahn's court, and so I sit in the back, and she has to go last for punishment for me, and so Abu walks in and out of the courtroom, and the officer in the back room is like gagging. The Marion County Sheriff's officer is fucking gagging because he fucking reeks and stinks of musk and disgusting. Oh, you know what?
Oh,
You know what? I say this: pigs that play in the mud, they always stink. So what do we expect from Abu? So,
yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to deal with him.
oh God, you don't want to. He'll probably sue. He'll probably sue you next. Who knows? He's a fucking scumbag. He is. He talks shit about everyone, and then he gets real mad when somebody talks shit back to him. Good lord. I'm
Well,
gonna sue
tit
you.
for
My name's
tat,
Abu. Go ahead.
You don't want people to talk shit about you. You don't talk shit about others.
Exactly. Treat others how you want to be treated. Naboo is definitely not treated. And then he wonders why, I came after his law license. You dumb fucking son of a bitch. Because you fucking went to my hometown and sued me. That's why, you fucking son of a bitch. And then he lost to a
Yeah,
fucking I think I was 24 at the time. He lost to a 24-year-old. He's a fucking scumbag. He's a grifter. He can't hold a
yeah,
job. He's not. I'd call him an attorney from Chat EBT. Okay, he's a copy and paste
yeah,
attorney, and everybody fucking makes fun of him because he's just like, you look at his last filing that he did to Haas, Jeremiah Haas. He literally copied and pasted the same thing and put Jeremiah Whitley. What a fucking clown! Copy and paste attorney from Chat EBT. Not Chat GBT, no, it's Chat EBT.
yeah. When I had to deal with him, it was just with Cutco business, and
God, he's so fucking
it was
cheap. Cheap bastard.
yeah. I mean, he's tighter than bark on a tree.
God. That's why he needs money from a fucking 28-year-old. He's a fucking pathetic little piece of shit. I wish that fucking heart attack fucking took him out in 2023. Good lord. Do you see how fucking obese he is? Good lord. I'm sorry, but he's a piece of shit
But he
individual.
does have he does have more chins than Chinatown. This is the
Him and Chris Christie can go dancing together. Oh shit. But yeah, we'll see who's gonna run for
Well,
attorney
Northwest
general.
Indiana, other things that are going on in Northwest Indiana.
What's going on
Um,
up there
you
now?
know,
You
yeah,
good? Are you is your device dying?
a low battery. I'll just hit dismiss.
Okay.
Um, a Republican, Republican State Representative Hal Slager. I think he represents the district in Highland, and Republican State Senator Dan DeLunk were holding a town meeting in Crown Point, supporting Mike Brown's property tax initiative. And they were practically ambushed by Democrats.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be. Yeah, Democrats are
Ambushed.
like,
I mean,
they're
they were
organizing
like
and they're doing well than rest Republicans. I'll say that. They
they
Democrats know how to
disrupted
organize.
everything they had to say.
Yep.
They were demanding property taxes, more funding for education, more of this crap. And then in Valpo at the courthouse, you got all the liberals that hate Trump. They're like, Trump is a Nazi. They're like Elon Musk is a Nazi. Fuck Doge.
Everybody's a Nazi to them. They don't know
All
what a
the
fucking Nazi is if it
LGBT
slapped them in the
flags,
fucking face.
everything, and of course, I don't know if you know him. There's a guy up there. He goes to Fairhaven Church in Chester. And his name is Tim O. And he always drives this truck and this trailer with all the Trump flags on it.
That's funny.
And he just loves to pick on those guys.
Oh,
And
Johannes, remember when I was down in Kentucky and that libtard got mad at me for flying my Trump flags and was trying to cut me
oh
off at the
yeah,
gas station?
why
And
are you a racist, Karen?
yeah, I called her a racist, and her eyes went so freaking huge. I'm not a racist. How dare you? Oh, that was so wholesome, trolling her. And
What about my Facebook friend Kathy Holland?
oh, Kathy
Every
Holland's a
time she
trip,
says I
man.
every time I post something about the Obamas, she says I'm a racist. I tell her I can't be a racist. You know, my parents conceived me in Morocco while they went to visit my Aunt Zan. So I'm actually African American. So how can I
Oh,
be a
no, that's
racist?
funny. So,
Oh, she gets so pissed when I say that.
I think it's humorous when Democrats tell Elon Musk to go back to South Africa, and so like there was this I can't remember what his name was, but it was a YouTuber and like TikTok influencer, and he was asking people, well, the Democrats why they hate Elon Musk, and this African American lady told them Elon needs to go back to Africa, needs to go back where he went, and the dude told him he's from Africa. She goes, "Oop, I need to get the hell out of here," or ran off because she was like, "Oop, shit, I just caught myself in that shit." It was funny.
Yeah.
Like the liberals have literally turned into the racist people that they were shouting at, that they were calling as racist deplorables in
Well, they've always been
2016. It's
racist.
funny
The
shit right
Democrats
now.
have always been racist. I
Oh,
mean,
I
look,
know. They're the ones
it
that
was the
started the Ku
Democrats
Klux
that created
Klan.
the Ku Klux Klan.
They started
It was
here
the
in Indiana.
Democrats that brought in the Jim Crow laws.
Remember, Johannes, the Democrats created the Ku Klux Klan here in Indiana, and the Democrat governor was actually in the Ku Klux Klan caucus here in Indiana. Remember that?
Which Democrat governor was that?
That was back in the 1800s. I don't remember exactly what his name is, but I can.
Evan Bayh. The only one I
No,
remember
it
was
wasn't
Evan
Evan Bayh.
Bayh.
No, not Evan Bayh. But it was a long time. It's back in the early. No. It wasn't the 1800s. It was like early 1900s, like 1918 or something like that. Very early.
Oh yeah, man. Well, Stark County has been known for the hotbed of Klan activity in Indiana.
Well, Delaware County's
And
got an active what do you call it? Chamber up there. So, but yeah, it's just
so
we
does
still have
so does
the
Fulton
racism
County.
here in Indiana.
Well, I'll tell you something about Stark County. 'Cause I sold a lot of Cutco in Stark County, and I sold to these people in North Dutson, and they were Italian, Polish Italian Catholic. He had an Italian last name. She was Polish and Slovak. She told me this story that she grew up in Knox, and she said her father every morning had to sweep the driveway. She didn't understand why every morning her father had to sweep the driveway. Well, one night she couldn't sleep and she saw this orange glow coming through her window. So she got up and looked through her window and she actually saw the Klansmen in their white Halloween costumes burning a cross in their driveway because they're Catholic.
Yep, they did that back then.
Now this was like I don't know, in the 1950s, 1960s, and when she was a kid. And then she said when she was in high school, which was already the late 1960s, Knox actually had segregated drinking fountains. They had drinking fountains for white people and drinking fountains for black people, like down in the South. And she said she saw once this black kid drinking out of the white fountain, and all the police came and beat him up, and it really traumatized her.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Indiana
so
used
is,
to be a race. Indiana used to be a
Stark County
racist
has a
state.
history of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's really, we've changed, but we still have those counties that still have those, unfortunately, those type of
Well,
racist
now the Ku
bigots.
Klux Klan has been replaced with ultra left, ultra racist, you know, tranny, sex change, Marxist ideology, and
I think,
it's
Johannes, this year and last year, I had the Democrats and moderate so-called rhinos like Abu, who claims to be a rhino. I don't think he is a rhino. I think he's a Democrat, but he acts more of a Democrat than a Republican. But they were all chanting, "Deport Gabe Whitley, deport Gabe Whitley." I'm like, that's fucking hilarious. I was born here in the United States, and my biological mother
yeah. I
actually
mean,
became a legal citizen
you
here.
don't even have a Mexican name, so how can they deport you?
I'm not even from Mexico. I was born and raised here. Like the fuck, these people are fucking scummy. I think it's funny whenever they're like deport Gabe Whitley. I'm like, that's really sad
Yeah,
of you that you have to spend your lonely
it
ass
shows how
nights to think
ignorant they
about
are.
Gabe Whitley. Good lord, these people are
Yeah, it just
pathetic.
shows how ignorant they are.
Oh, Abu's very ignorant. Him and his fucking dumb base. Oh my god,
But
they're a
it's
bunch of
it's
cult
like
leaders.
Cheech and Chong. It's like Cheech and Chong, where they try to deport Cheech, and Cheech is like, "Hey, I was born in East LA, man."
Hey!
You ever heard of?
Don't compare Cheech and Chong to Abu and his base. That's an insult.
Oh no,
Okay, that
no,
is an
Cheech and Chong is
insult.
actually hilarious.
Yeah, Cheech and Chong are fucking hilarious. That's
Oh
fucking
yeah,
funny.
they're
Yeah, so your
you know
generation, hey Johannes, so in your generation, your parents hated you guys watching Cheech and Chong. In my generation, our parents hated us watching South Park and Family Guy.
well. I'll tell you how I got exposed to Cheech and Chong. Um, I went to parochial school, and Cheech and Chong did a lot of sketches that took place in parochial school.
Yeah.
And there was this kid in my class. His name was Mark Nasser. And in the third grade and in the fourth grade, he always had this tape recorder and had cassette tapes of Cheech and Chong. And we would listen. And my favorite one was Sergeant Studenko, which was absolutely hilarious. I mean, it was, it started out, you know, with like the school bell ringing. And then this nun, she goes, "Class, class, it's the bell class, class, shut up." And then she introduces Sergeant Studenko, and Sergeant Studenko goes, she goes, "Hello, my name is Sister Mary Elephant, and I wanted to introduce you to Sergeant Studenko from the police department. Now, Sergeant Studenko is going to talk to you about a very bad habit of using drugs." And then, he goes, "Hello, how are you doing?" And then this one kid goes, "Yeah, I got a question for you." Goes, "Yes." "Hey, who cut your hair, man?" And and then and then he goes, "Well, I'm gonna light this leafy substance. Can anybody tell me what it is?" And then Cheech is like, "Oh, that's Michoacan, man. Yeah, Michoacan. That's marijuana, man." And then Cheech goes, "Yeah, I want to report Billy over here, man. Billy is lighting this oregano." And then Chong is like, "What you talking about, man? Hey, man, you smoke that oregano, man, all the time, man.
Oh hell no.
Oregano, you can use that in your soup, you beaner. Hey, who you calling a beaner, man? Come on, man." Oh, it was just so funny.
That is
I mean,
funny. That is funny. That is.
and of course, at the time, I didn't even know what the word beaner meant because my English was still, because at home we spoke French and German. So,
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh, so like it's funny because like okay, so my college friends and my buddies from Evansville too. Like they see I'm okay with name calling. Like I grew up in a military family. My mom's a hardcore staunch Democrat. Back in the '60s Democrat, and so those Democrats are racist. Okay, that being said, is us Hispanics know how to take jokes, and we know what dark humor is. We
yeah,
love dark humor. It doesn't matter. Nothing hurts our feelings. You can call us anything in the book, and it doesn't hurt our feelings. Okay. That being said, is my friend used to call me a beaner all the time, and I would laugh, and we would call each other's names and stuff like that. Oh, it's just hilarious. Nothing hurts my feelings.
actually,
I've
actually, I
grown up in
never
a
even
broken
knew.
home. I'm okay. And so, like, yeah,
I
name
never
calling
even
is
knew
not new
what
to
the
me.
word beaner meant until I was selling Cutco, and we were talking about Cheech and Chong, and that word came up, and the girl that I spoke with, she had a Mexican that I was field training. She had a Mexican husband, and she was telling me, "Oh, your beaner is a word for Mexican." I'm like, "Oh, really?" I said, "I didn't know that." I was
Yeah,
like, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Us Hispanics, if you're truly a Hispanic, we don't get offended by nothing. I swear, like we have the most dark humor than it is, and it's funny.
well, I had this Filipino American kid in my class, Rob Hale, and the one word that would really set him off, there were two words that really set him off: Weesh and Gook.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Oh,
not
you
the other
called him
one's not
those
a good
two
one.
words. Those were fighting words.
Yeah,
I mean, he would just come after you. I mean,
yeah.
he hated you.
Some people get offended. Like I've been called everything in the book. I've been called everything in the book, and it does not bother me at all. And some people they let words control them, and me, I don't really give a shit. I don't really give a shit. I sleep well with the
Well,
fan on at night,
I
and I
guess
really don't care what people think of me.
I guess Guish, I guess is a derogatory term for Filipinos,
I did not know that.
and
Interesting.
and
Yeah, I've
Gook
heard that term
basically is
before. Yeah,
anybody from Southeast Asia. So
yeah, I've heard
that
that
could be
before.
Filipinos, Thais, Vietnamese,
Yeah.
Laotians, Cambodians, and oh, those two words really pissed him off. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
somebody called him that, he he went ballistic.
Yeah.
He
See,
really.
like I said, I've been called worse names, in the book, and I don't let words, you know, affect my emotion. It didn't really bother me.
Oh, me neither. Me neither. I'll just say something back. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
speak six languages fluently, and along with the six languages I speak, I can cuss in 40 other languages.
Oh,
So
I'll laugh and troll them
I'm
back.
basically an
Yeah.
international potty mouth.
Yeah, I'll laugh and troll them back, and my brothers and sisters in my family are big time military people, so I've heard it all. I've heard it all, and I'll say it. I don't care. I'll offend somebody. That's no problem. If they're over there talking shit, I'm telling you, Mama didn't raise no bitch, and I'll fight back. Don't think I won't, cause
Yeah.
I will. Yeah. So, but okay, well, we're
Well,
about.
I'll tell you this
All right,
story. In
one
high
last
school,
story,
we had this.
Johannes. One last story. Go ahead. Before we're wrapping it up.
Yeah, when I was in high school, we had this kid. He had an Italian name, Pizzuto.
Mhm.
His first name was Brett. He was bragging how he was this big Italian and his parents were in the mafia and all this,
Oh
and it was
hell
all a
no.
bunch of bullshit, and everybody knew it. Well, we had this Spanish exchange student from Madrid, and one day Brett was kind of making fun of me and saying stupid snide stuff. So the next door neighbor of my best friend taught me how to cuss in Italian.
Oh no.
So I told him, hey Brett, mangia la sporca figa di tu madre,
Oh
which
no.
basically means eat your mother's dirty pussy.
Oh hell no.
And went completely over his head. He did not understand what I said. And I go, bazza ma culo y mangia la merda. Basically means kiss my ass and eat my shit. He answers me back in Spanish.
Are
And,
you fucking
and
serious?
I'm dead serious.
Oh
He
hell
answers me
no.
back in Spanish, and incorrectly, he goes, "Oh, chingada tu madre," when it should have been chinga tu madre.
Exactly.
And that Spanish exchange student overheard the conversation. He goes, "No, no, it's not chingada tu madre, it's chinga tu madre." And he
Exactly.
got so embarrassed. Oh my God, it was
That's
hilarious.
funny. That's funny. But okay, so next week we're gonna be Alright, so I just got a notification on here. Okay, my bad. So next week we're gonna have Randall McAllister from Muncie, Indiana, on here, and he's gonna be talking about what's happening over there in Victoria Sparks District. So, but okay, well, stay tuned, everyone. We'll see you next week, and and we'll be here on we'll be here this Saturday, and then we'll be here also this no, not this Saturday. We'll be live this Friday, and then we'll be live this Sunday on the Unfiltered